Greetings, folks. Anila Horm here with a World of Warships replay. Today we are featuring XX Bandit 1 in the Tier 9 French battleship the Alsace. He is division with tanker 4244 in the Tier 9 Royal Navy battleship HMS Lion, and with Kightrsabre in the Tier 9 U.S. Navy light cruiser the USS Seattle. And it looks like they may have also sync dropped with Kaylee 321 in the Tier 9 U.S. Navy destroyer the USS Fletcher. They are in a domination match on Northern Lights, and this is a mixed tier match with a combination of Tier 8 through Tier 10 ships, and there are no aircraft carriers. Now, Bandit is all in on the secondaries for his commander skills and ship upgrades, including the secondary upgrade in slot 6, as well as AFT, BFT, IFHE, and manual secondaries for his commander. And he is definitely going to get his money's worth out of this build for this battle. So in this battle, the highlight is really going to focus on the need for battleships to push flanks, and this is exactly what Bandit is going to do, and it is going to be really necessary in order to keep the team in the game. Bandit and his division mates have wanted to move to Charlie to be able to defend that area and hopefully take that cap. They've asked the allied Kagro player that had spawned with them in the middle of the map to move to Charlie, and he does acknowledge, but then the Kagro player doesn't actually move in the direction of the Charlie cap, so I'm sure this was quite frustrating for Bandit and his division mates. Bandit is sending out a full salvo here against a broadside opposing Hindenburg. This is a place where the German cruisers are very vulnerable through plunging fire, but Bandit only scores one overpen, so I'm sure that was quite disappointing. On the east side of the map, we have two allied gearings that are looking to contest the Delta cap. They do have a Salem that is quite close to the cap, so he should be able to offer some decent support from his position. But the two allied battleships, the Bismarck and the Montana, are not in good positions to be able to support Delta. The Bismarck should be quite a bit closer in a position where his secondaries can cover basically the entirety of the cap in the same way that Bandit is doing here for Charlie. And then the allied Montana player is basically taking himself out of the battle by parking behind that island at the Hotel 9, and so he's not providing much in the way of effective support. In fact, the opposing team has now just claimed first blood by taking out one of the two allied gearings that was at Delta, and so we've already down one destroyer, and we're going to lose Kaylee 321 in the allied Fletcher here that you can see in the middle of the screen to the Grozovoy, and so now the allied team is going to be down two destroyers. And there goes the Fletcher. So this is the point where Bandit, I think he and his division mates realize that they have to make a play, and this is where it's important to have battleships push flanks. So the allied team is now down two destroyers. They are going to lose the other gearing here shortly. I think he's already coming under some fire already. And then the Kagro player is not really in a position to be able to take any of the caps either. And so Bandit and his division mates are going to push up here to Charlie. They can see that the Charlie cap is being taken. And with the Edinburgh here that's on Bandit's forward port side, as well as his division mate in the Seattle, they should be able to detect and drive off whatever has moved into Charlie. Here is the opposing Buffalo, and where Bandit had a disappointing salvo against the opposing Hindenburg, he's going to have quite a satisfying salvo here against the Buffalo with the Citadel and 3 full penetrations and quite a few secondary hits, including a fire, taking out basically half the health of the Buffalo in one shot. You can see quite a volume of fire from the secondaries coming from Bandit's ship. So we did briefly detect the gearing that was at Charlie, and now we've detected it again. I expect this is the radar coming from the allied Seattle player, And so now, and we can also see that the gearing player basically has no support. So he does need to retreat, but this gives Bandit and his division mates the opportunity to push into the cap. There we have lost the other gearing, as I mentioned earlier, at Delta. So we're now down 3 destroyers. And the Allied Kagero that you can see is pushing north towards Alpha is basically putting himself in reach of, multiple ships, multiple opposing ships, and he's going to get taken out here very quickly. So I'm not sure what his thinking was, and he's just going to get sunk without having done much in the way of damage, if anything. He does end up getting some torpedoes off, but I don't know if he ends up hitting anything with those torpedoes. So now the Allied team has lost all of its destroyers, and in fact, it's going to end up losing one of its cruisers. I think it's going to be the Edinburgh that you can see, but heading north towards Alpha. I believe he's also going to get taken out here very shortly. But Bandit and his division mates have marched into Charlie. They've now taken that cap, so at least now they have 2 caps. The Allied Bismarck is in no position to be able to support anything, although I suspect he's coming under some intense pressure from the opposing group that's moving south through Delta. And there we end up losing the Allied Edinburgh. So the Allied team is now down 4 ships. Well, they've lost 5, but they have a 4-ship deficit. And then the Allied team is able to take out the opposing Hindenburg. So this has been a necessary push for Bandit and his group to make. Now, they make an interesting choice here. So Bandit has elected to move east towards Delta, where there is a large force of the opposing team. And his 2 division mates have elected to move west toward Alpha. There we lose the Montana to flooding from the opposing Fletcher. So it wasn't clear to me whether this was a conscious choice for them to break up, whether they felt like they had to drive 2 flanks in order to be able to have a chance to stay in the game, or it just worked out that way. I'd be curious to know. But either way, Bandit is going to move south here towards Delta. He's kind of marching into the lion's den here because he's going to be in reach of at least 5, maybe 6 ships. Here we see the opposing Missouri, which is backing up and is full broadside to Bandit. So Bandit's going to be able to get a salvo out here against this broadside American battleship. I believe he's going to score a Citadel here. Yes, he does. So he takes out almost all the remaining health of the opposing Missouri, and the fire set from one of his secondaries ends up finishing off the Missouri. We also took out the Salem, was able to take out the opposing Fletcher that was on the east flank. And here you can see that Bandit is toggling back and forth between where he sets his manual secondaries. He did want to set them on the destroyer because these secondaries can do a number on destroyers very quickly, but the destroyer's gone back into concealment, and so he switched his secondaries back to ships that are here on the that are south of Delta. Now, these 2 opposing battleships, the Montana and the Friedrich der Große, they've put themselves in a crossfire between the Bismarck, the Roma, and Bandit here on the Allied team. So this has been kind of an interesting wedge execution. I don't know if this was intentional or it just kind of fell out this way, but this is actually going to end up being a very effective way to isolate and take out 2 of the opposing destroyers. And here Bandit is seconds away from taking the Delta cap for his second cap as a pushing battleship. We do end up losing the Roma, but we've done a pretty serious number on this opposing Montana, and Bandit is going to end up sending out another salvo here. I don't remember if he ends up finishing off the Montana in the salvo. Not quite. But then his secondaries are going off, and the Bismarck, actually the secondaries from the Bismarck end up finishing off the Montana. So they've made a little bit of progress in terms of bringing the cap situation back and the ship situation back. The Salem is still trying to hunt down the Harakaze. Neither of those ships are really in a position that they're supporting a cap. In fact, the Salem is able to finish off the Harakaze. So now they are down to a one-ship deficit. So where they were down by 4 ships, now they're down by 1. So that definitely has helped. The Allied Bismarck is almost down, but it looks like he got a really good salvo on the Friedrich de Grosse, and you can see the volume of secondaries that are putting pressure on the de Grosse from both Bandit and the Bismarck is pretty intense. So the Bismarck goes down, but they almost finished off the de Grosse. The fireworks here from the secondaries are quite impressive. The Alsace and the French battleships don't benefit from the 1/4 pen of the secondaries that the German battleships do. And so IFHE is really kind of necessary in order to get any decent chance of alpha damage from the secondaries, especially the 100mm secondaries. So their main value in a lot of ways is fire. But with the IFHE, it does allow the 100mm secondaries to be able to pen and their pen superstructures of battleships, and their Bandit gets his first close quarters for this battle, but that's not going to be the only one he gets in this battle. So now, and now we've just lost Tanker and the Lion, who had headed west to try to put pressure on that other flank. So we're now in a situation where it's 5-on-3, and we hold 2 caps, and neither team is in very good position because the players are all heavily spread out, and that can be a problem, being able to effectively focus fire. But it can have the advantage that it provides an opportunity for a lot of crossfire situations. But they are so spread out that supporting each other can be quite difficult. Here, the opposing Grozovoy has come in for a ambush attack on Bandit, but Bandit knew that he was here, and so he's been backing up. He gets 1 salvo and with a number of pens, and this is a place where a destroyer like that probably would have been taken out 1 salvo if not for the recent change in the AP mechanics on destroyers. But the volume of secondary fire coming from Bandit is just overwhelming, and it ends up finishing off the Grozovoy. The Grozovoy does get his torpedoes off, and Bandit is going to take, I think, 5 of them, but it's not enough to sink him, and he's been able to survive and hold on to his damage control, get a heal in, and he's finished off one of the destroyers. Now, the Salem has now finished off the Richelieu, so now we're on a 3-on-3 situation, and the point deficit isn't too bad. It's about 150 points or 120 points, so that's not bad. Here, the opposing gearing shows up. Their Bandit earns high caliber. And he's going to, I think he's just going to push in here because he can reasonably expect the torpedoes are coming. He's bow on, so there's 1 set of torpedoes. And at some point, he's going to detect the gearing firing from his smoke. We do end up losing Kightrsabre and the Seattle right there, so it's a 3-on-2 situation. We know that the opposing gearing is very low health. Here, he's now been detected. He slipped out of his smoke. There's the next salvo. Almost finishes him off, but the secondaries have gone out and finished off the gearing now for Bandit's 3rd close quarters of the game and his 4th kill for the game. So now it's a 2-on-2 situation. The point differential is about 140 points. So they still need to sink ships and or contest caps. The Salem is a little overextended in my opinion. He's under pressure from both a Monarch and a Buffalo. And even though he does have the super heal and he's got obviously a very high rate of fire, he's the focus of the two opposing ships at this point. It's a pretty bad dispersion there on the Monarch, but he is able to get about 7k in on the Monarch. Monarch is burning, so it looks like the Monarch may burn out here and go down here very shortly. And he is taken out by the Salem. So now it's a 2-on-1. Again, they're still behind because they haven't held caps for very long. So now Bandit is going to turn his attention to the remaining ship. This might be a place where, if I were the Buffalo, maybe I turn and run. I certainly don't want to be exposed to the fire from Bandit in the Alsace, but he may not have choice at this point. He may simply be too close to the Salem and not be able to get back into concealment. Bandit sends out his next salvo. A little disappointed about 7.5k. But the Buffalo's now going to come into his secondary aura here in just a moment. And that volume of fire is going to be quite oppressive. So there goes the secondaries. Again, the main area on this ship where the secondaries are going to penetrate are going to be the superstructure, not so much any other surfaces. Well, the 152s can penetrate the hull, but the 100 millimeters will not be able to. He's almost got the Buffalo down. That last full salvo from the main battery wasn't very strong, but the secondaries are doing a huge volume of work, no pun intended. And he is going to get this kill, earning him Kraken Unleashed and his 4th close quarters for the game. So great job, Bandit and his division mates, turning around what was a very difficult situation, and he turned it into a win by pushing through the flanks and putting opposing ships in the crossfire and driving a wedge and doing some really good tactical things to help his team win. So great job. The Allied Salem, also shout out to him for getting a Kraken as well. So a double Kraken on the winning team. So very impressive. So I hope you enjoyed the replay and the commentary. Please do leave your comments below. And as always, we hope to see you out there, and we wish you happy sailing.